You're listening to WICR, where we dance the night away.
All right, welcome back to our next segment, and we're going to talk about politics a little bit. So there's been a lot of politics in the news lately with Trump, of course, as there's always been this whole year, last year, whenever the presidential elections were going on, the race. So a couple things that have been happening. So a lot of Republicans have been coming out against Trump. There's four in particular. There's George Bush, McCain, Bob Corker, and Jeff Flake. And Jeff Flake is the one that spoke out most recently. So he is a senator, and he said that he is not going to run for re-election once his term is done. He said instead he's just going to let it go, and he's not going to run anymore. But what he said about Trump is he said that there's a sickness in our system and it's contagious. So a lot more Republicans and a lot more people have been, or on the Republican side, have been a little bit more vocal about Trump and what's going on in politics. And I know this is a sensitive subject as usual, as it's always been, but when it's about troops, then I feel like that's where a lot of people on the right draw the line. So what happened this week? Oops, a little incident. What happened this week is that Trump called the family of 4 fallen soldiers. They were in battle, in combat, and they were killed in action. So the president always calls the families to console them, to basically, while they're grieving, to give them words of encouragement, to make them feel at least a little bit better, even though they're going through a really difficult time, and it's hard to do that. The president calls them to tell the family thank you for your son or your daughter's service in the military, Navy, or whatever force they're in, and to basically thank them for their service and for giving their life for the country that we have today. So there are a couple of scandals that have happened over the past week or two. The most popular one was Maisha Johnson. Her husband, LaDavid Johnson, was killed in action, as I just said. So she claimed that when she was on the phone with Trump, he did not remember her husband's name, which is one that's already terrible. Not knowing the person you're calling their husband's name, who gave their life for the country, as we just said, LaDavid Johnson. And she claimed that he said he knew what he signed up for, but it hurts anyways. And that is the line that gets to me, to a lot of other people, that it's just an insensitive line. It's not a thing that you say to somebody who's grieving. You have to watch your words carefully in general, but especially when somebody's grieving, when somebody is hurt, when somebody is mourning the loss of a family member, a spouse, daughter, husband, wife, and grandma, grandpa, mother, father. It doesn't matter. You have to be careful with your words, and you have to be a little bit more sensitive to them in that time than you would if you're just talking to somebody on a regular day-to-day basis and there's no tragedy that occurred. Also, Trump promised a Gold Star family $25,000, a Gold Star father. So his son was in combat and his son was killed as well, and he promised that father $25,000. And Trump even said, this is not something that people do ever. I'm going to be the first person to do this, which he probably is the first person to do this. But the thing about that is, it is a good gesture, but he did not give the money until the story came out that Trump promised these people $25,000, and they still did not receive it. It was like a couple months, and Trump bragging and telling people that he's rich, that he has all this type of money, waiting or taking 4 months to for the people to receive the money. It's almost as if he didn't want to give them the money. So it was by the NY Post. They posted this article. So that's another scandal that happened this week that involved a Gold Star family member, or a soldier, or the family of soldiers. And I believe there was a congresswoman with Maisha Johnson. I believe that she's related to Maisha Johnson, and they were sitting together, and because the phone was on speakerphone. and she heard the conversation. She reiterated what Maisha said, and Trump vehemently denied the claims, said that they're wrong, that he did not say that. Obviously, watching out for himself, saying that the claims are false and all that. So it's just a whole scandal. It's just a whole, as usual, as we've had for the past year now, almost a year to the election date. I believe it was November 8th. So it's almost going to be a year to when Trump won the election last year. It feels like it's been 5 years with him in office, to be honest. One thing that was shocking to me that came out this week was that Hillary Clinton funded a Russian report about Trump, and he had an incident with prostitutes in Russia. There was an incident there where there was speculation or rumors that there was a video of him in a hotel with the women, and they did an act. I'm not going to say what it is, but they did an act, and it is reported that Hillary Clinton actually funded it. So that to me is very bad, because you cannot continuously say, oh, he hacked me, or Russia's hacking me, Russia did this through the election, Russia did that, Trump is colluding with Russia over and over again, and then it comes out that there's a report that you also helped Russia. That looks terrible on you, and that looks like whatever you did or whatever you said that he did, it makes you hypocritical, even though it's not as bad as directly getting help from Russia. So what happened in Russia is that they had Facebook ads, and that they had ads on Facebook, and they bought the time, they bought the slot and all that. And while Facebook was claiming that Russia did not have any ads on the website or anything like that, but they did, thousands, maybe millions of ads, spending money just so Trump would win the campaign, and it definitely paid off for them. But Hillary sitting there saying, "Oh, Trump is colluding with Russia," and then not, and then having paid or funded a report or a dossier that is narrowing Trump with about the incident in Russia is not good for her. It's not good for her brand. I don't know if she's going to campaign in the future. Probably not. If I was her, I would not. I would just say this is it for me in politics, and then leave it at that. But it's definitely not a good look for her. Also, I just want to say there were two more shootings. Moving on from politics, there were two more shootings in schools. There was one on October 14th in Virginia. There was one on October 25th in Louisiana. And so I just wanted to say my condolences and prayers, and that these are still going on, even though Las Vegas was over, Las Vegas was done, but people are still getting shot in schools, and there's still an issue that we have to resolve and that we have to go through, and we have to talk about one day. Maybe we won't take away all guns, obviously, but definitely some type of test or evaluation that people have to go through, if they want to have guns and keep them in America. So that would definitely be a thing that people have to look at over time. It's still going to happen. It's still going to continue, obviously, but it's just something that I believe that we could do better at, and we could have a safer environment if we do these things. So that was it for the news this week. There are a couple more stories. There's in Florida. There's a serial killer apparently in Florida. There's video of him running. Let me see. Oh, Trump released JFK documents yesterday. I forgot to mention that. So those files will definitely be looked at, definitely be thought of. The whole conspiracy with JFK is probably the biggest one in America. What exactly happened? So, there's definitely speculation about that. So that will be looked at, and we will talk about it next week on the show when Dominic is back, and on our podcast. The Damn Podcast drops every Tuesday on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, wherever you think you could get it is there. So we'll definitely cover that. When we come back, we're going to talk about sports a little bit. We'll see you next time. We'll take a quick break and be